GM everyone, welcome back to another episode of Touchgrass Podcast. Today I'm with Karl and Taem from Optimism and Sunnyside Labs, respectively. I know you guys are maybe sick of us interviewing different dexes, different one. Well, we pick a vertical and we go all in. That's kind of how we do at TGP. But privacy is one of those categories and narratives that we've been very focused on this year and even last year. We've had on the Canton guys, we've done different privacy projects on Solana as well. And today we have to want to talk about the new pivot and the new kind of direction that Optimism is taking and chat about L2s in general as well. But yeah, excited to have you guys on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us,
Awesome.
really.
Awesome. Why don't we kick off with a quick intro and then we can kind of dive into the relationship between both of your projects.
All right, I guess I'll go first. So I'm Karl, co-founder of Optimism and CTO of OP Labs. Been doing this Ethereum thing for like 10 years and still scaling Ethereum, still building the world computer, still trying to reach mass adoption. And in fact, we are closer than ever. So it's the most exciting time to be in the space. Let's go.
Hey, all. I'm Tam. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Sunnyside Labs. We've been working on the scaling Ethereum together with Karl for the last almost 4 years now. Still scaling, still exciting. So we've been the core dev to the OP stack and the Ethereum for the last 4 years, and still doing the core dev stuffs as well, but now we're more of focusing on the privacy stuffs now for the OP stack. Yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome. Let's sort of kick this off. I think tough questions first to both of you. Over the past sort of 6 months, we've seen a lot of comms come on from the Ethereum Foundation about focusing on scaling the L1 as sort of the premier focus of the Optimism team to scale Ethereum as in a different route. Does that impact the Optimism roadmap in any way? Like, does that change your vision at all, Carlton?
Yeah, it's a good question. So from crypto Twitter meme verse, it may seem as though there is this big tension between L1s and L2s and what's happening and what's going on. If you actually know the people, or if you read between the lines of the tweets, I think Etherealize has a really good blog post about this. Really, we are actually presenting a unified front for a new era in essentially Ethereum and L2 adoption. What is that new front? Well, we are moving from being a kind of technology niche project to being a massive platform for institutional adoption. And what does that actually require? That requires different things than back in the day when we were even before Optimism Plasma Group doing, core Ethereum research. We didn't know how to scale this thing, but now we know how to scale the blockchain. We know how to scale block space. We've done it. And now we need to differentiate the block space. So what does that mean for Ethereum L1? Well, they are focused on differentiating with, scalable, decentralized block space, maximally decentralized. But layer twos, they're differentiating in other ways. Each layer two is picking a niche. And right now, what we are doing with the OP stack is we are enabling every chain to be able to pick their niche while still remaining compatible with the rest of the ecosystem. And so that means modularization, that means extending the stack to be able to be customized to fit enterprise use cases. So we're really kind of part of this transition for Ethereum for layer twos is really driven by the macro adoption of the crypto space, which is super exciting and honestly something that we've been hoping for a long time. But I don't know. I didn't know necessarily that this day would come, but it feels like the cat's out of the bag and we're getting better strap in because it's going to be a wild ride.
100%. Like you mentioned crypto Twitter and the sentiment, the way people read those announcements, and they just read the first tweet and they kind of they don't read the actual blog post. But yeah, I think the main question people have is, there are so many L2s, and obviously Optimism is one of the leading ones. The like high level question people have is, where do L2s go from here? And you have done a lot of kind of development there as well with the OP stack. You had so many institutions on board, so much of adoption, so much of metrics to prove that there has been some real progress there. But right now, people are kind of building their own chains, and does that kind of impact? And like, take me back, right, when these kind of decisions were made, where people were kind of shying away from building on an L2. How does that kind of impact internally, and does that like a big pivot point or for you guys?
Yeah. So first, I love to say that, we are super far ahead in crypto. I love the bull posting, but I just have to say context. We have less than 0.5% of the global financial system on chain right now. So yes, we have succeeded in a great way where the OP stack is adopted and, 60% of L2 transactions are on the OPs, but that is a tiny, tiny pond. And we are expanding out to be the platform for the global financial system. And in order to be the platform for the global financial system, we need to make the rails that enable differentiated products to come on chain. That means that we need to support the compliance features that people need. We need to support the block building features that people need, etc. And that is the reality of our time. Now, as for like the hype cycle of like, oh, I'm going to deploy an L1 or, oh, I think that this is something that is definitely a good way to get a lot of tweets and maybe investment or just stuff like that. But the reality is that blockchains, again, we have not proved the use case. We have not proved that we can actually support the global financial system on chain. So the way that we support the global financial system on chain is by building a platform that people can build on top of that allows them to differentiate their block space and customize it to the needs of their particular enterprise, their particular product. And so ultimately, what does that lend itself? Well, if you need to build an L1 because that is core to your financial platform, go ahead and do it. That is really awesome. But if you need to build a different feature that is maybe on top of another L1, or maybe has another customization surface area that we haven't even explored yet, you would want to build on top of that and extend it. Because one of the things that, the reason why we have L2s in the first place is to make it easier to extend the block space and customize what matters to the end user. And so ultimately, I think that is the long-term evolution, I would say, even of blockchains generally. It's probably not even just going to be, I'm building on top of an L1. It's going to be, I'm building on top of an L1 with this module and this component from this company and this service from that other company. And yes, that kind of level of nuance does not get a lot of views or retweets on crypto Twitter because it doesn't sound like, oh yeah, there's a feud happening, this person versus that person. But, unfortunately, I have to be the bringer of reality, which is just like, hey, it's nuanced and we're actually bringing the global financial system, on chain.
Yeah. You mentioned like the customizations that the L2 environments can provide, and you guys are still exploring what if you have more customization to offer. But I think one counter argument for that, and I would love your thoughts on it, is people are like the consensus right now is crypto is only made for payments, perps, and like stable coins, like just two or three things that crypto is truly useful for. And every almost every app, every chain is just focused on these verticals. So a couple years back, we were like an L2 for gaming, an L2 for NFTs, or an L2 for metaverse, or all these kind of things were there. So they're building on a separate building on L2 for these kinds of use cases. Right now, it feels like all of these have disappeared, and there's just like payments, perps, stable coins are things to focus on. So do you think that customization part is still needed, when the use cases are pretty much been the same and these are the ones that everyone is focusing on?
Nice. Okay, so that is a really good question. And candidly, if I was kind of thinking about the same thing a couple years ago, I probably would be like, wait, it sounds like everything's solved. We have payments, we have perps, we have dexes, like we have lending. What's happening here? Well, okay, as I have spoken with more institutions, people who are actually building out products that support, millions upon millions of real users, even within, let's say, the payment space, there's a huge amount of differentiation that is required to build your application for your particular purposes, whether that be things around compliance, that conversation never ends, whether that be things around the guarantees that you want to make your users for your payments. What is the latency, scalability trade-off that you're trying to make? All of these things come into play when you're actually deploying an application at scale, even an application as simple as seemingly simple as payments, right? Social media, what is that? It's just posting things and retweeting them. But the reality is, obviously, every social media platform has incredible amounts of depth in order to enable that experience. And so that's really what we're seeing. We're seeing a maturation, and it is a specialization of the blockchain space for sure. Yes, gaming is not here yet. And some of the things that we talked about, DAOs, are not here yet. But the reality is that even within the stuff that is right in front of our faces, we are very primitive in terms of the rails that we have today versus what we need to support global adoption.
That makes sense. And Taem, I want to bring you in here from more of a dev sort of focus. How has these conversations, as Karl sort of talked about the pivot in terms of the focus of what Optimism is trying to do, and still supporting the scaling of Ethereum, how does that change from like a dev angle? What are the changes that Sunnyside Labs has made over the past few months or years, I'd like to say?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel a lot of not that much changes. So the change has been shifted to more of a building more practical, shipping more practical stuffs. I think two things: shipping more practical stuffs and just shipping, right? Ethereum ecosystem is, ships are really safe protocols, but sometimes they are, how should I say this? Sometimes the cadence doesn't match to the speed of the real world. So as we focus on more of an institutional and the real world use cases, we ship things, and we ship more often, and we ship more practical stuffs that institutions actually need. So the focuses has been shifted and the attitude has been shifted.
That makes sense. I think nothing better pivots into the privacy angle. I've been reading a lot about the privacy boost stuff internally from what has been shared with me and KG, obviously confidential. I do want to, give the stage to both of you guys to talk more about, was this sort of new product suite inspired from? Is this first of many of enterprise focused solutions that we'll see from the Optimism team? Just start us off, give us the foundation, then we'll talk more about privacy.
Sounds good. Karl, you want to start, or I can start?
No, you got to start. Sunnyside Privacy Boost. It's Sunnyside's day.
Hell yeah, thank you. So yeah, it all started with the working on the OP, of course. So not only we've done the core dev development stuffs for the OP stack, we also worked on the GTM in Asia of the OP. So while we were meeting a lot of enterprises and institutions in Asia, like largest banks and the largest exchanges and all those kind of folks, they always mentioned about the privacy. They asked us do you have any privacy roadmaps? Do you have any plans for the privacies? And we were like, yeah, sure. Why don't you guys use privacy pools or other privacy solutions out there? And they were like, No. We are talking about the privacies that we can use. We evaluated all of them, but the problem is they're not performant, and sometimes they are not. Some of them are not performant. Some of them are not compliant, so that we cannot use. Some of them are not does not provide like superior UXs for the users, or compromise the self custodial values. We're like, but that actually was a blocker to onboard them to bring on chain. Um, so we couldn't. So the privacy was really a blocker for bringing enterprises on chain. So um, we were like, wait a minute, maybe we can solve this. Maybe we can combine some of the technologies that's available out there and solve this. So we started to, started to like sketch out, and that became the privacy boost.
Uh, Colin, I mean, I want to ask, like, is it, you said you mentioned institutions. Was it also like some of the teams already building on optimism saying, hey, Carl, privacy is kind of everyone, all our users want this? Is there any way, like, how do we kind of, instead of using some third party tool, can we make it available on Optimism? Did any of the teams already building on Optimism reach out asking for these specific features?
We have definitely heard over the years a bunch of builders wanting to build on top of privacy solutions. However, I will say that privacy has become far more of a focus as we have started talking to larger and larger enterprises. Again, we are less than 0.5% of the global financial system, and it turns out that not every transaction in the global financial system is publicly viewable by everyone and anyone. That actually is a really bad, I mean, in some ways it's a great design, and it's enabled a lot of the self-custodial things that we have today in crypto, but it is not sufficient to replicate the global financial system on chain. And so when we were at, for example, DAS the other, couple weeks ago, every single institution was basically saying, hey, look, privacy is a top blocker for bringing my enterprise on chain. And so Taem has been doing some incredible work talking with everyone in Asia and getting that kind of cohort user feedback. And we've been noticing it everywhere else. And it is a unanimous kind of requirement for institutions at this point.
And that makes a lot of sense. Carl, Tim, when you guys were sort of evaluating what the Optimism privacy stack should be, I'm pretty sure you must have done a lot of sort of landscaping of the other privacy solutions out there. What do you guys think about what's out there right now, and how does that differentiate from what you guys are building?
Taem, take it away.
Of course. So our view is there are three types of the privacy solutions out there. The first one is the private chains. Private chains are, it's just simple, like hiding the data, just hiding the entire block data and make it permissioned so that only selected parties can build on top of it, or hiding the data somehow anyway. That's like good for the privacy. That's because like it's just hiding the entire block data. It's good for the privacy, but the problem is it's bad for the composabilities. It's difficult to composable within the blockchain, or just build general DeFi applications on that chain. So it's like there are high chances that it's going to be difficult to interoperable with the existing deep liquidities like the Ethereum and stuff. So you have to just migrate the chain. So you have to migrate to a new private chains for the privacy, but for institutions, that's a blocker because like they need like deep liquidities on top of the Ethereum and L2s. Second category is the private apps, privacy applications on top of the public blockchains. So this is also good, but the problem is like they maximize for the maximum anonymity. Because they optimize for the maximum anonymities, sometimes some solutions sacrifice the performances or the UXs, or most importantly, composability with the existing like Web2 applications. So they are not SDK first approaches. They are just applications for the privacies, and they don't not like prioritize the compliances. So institutions can't use, like, it's difficult to use it like in a lot of ways. The third, like the last category is the privacy infrastructure on top of the public chains. They're actually for the institutions or other applications to integrate the privacy features on top of their applications. So they're SDK oriented, so like they're easy to compose with. But the problem for most of the solutions out there right now is performances. Like most of them uses FHE, but the problem is like, the performance is not there yet, or the price, the transaction pricings and performances are not there for institutional adoptions. So yeah, there are a lot of like privacy solutions out there, but they're like targeting different audiences, retails and stuffs. So we figured out that for institutions, we need like different approaches, like totally different approaches.
So you'd say like the Optimism stack, the privacy boost is extremely focused on institutions. That's all the feedback that you've generated, across Asia from all the institutions in the States, and it sort of collates everything into the one piece fits all solution for privacy for institutions to come on chain. Is that sort of
yeah, sort of. So it's compatible with the OP stack. It prioritized OP stack, but it's like compatible with the just EVM in general. But it works a lot, like really a lot better on the OP stack. So we are like doing we know the OP stack a lot better, so we just prioritize the OP stack.
That makes sense. So let's say, for example, and I'm just sort of brainstorming here. Let's say Bitpanda with their new Vision chain, if they wanted to turn on privacy, they could do it like immediately. It would be a no-brainer. Okay,
yes.
Cool. And then Tim, can you talk to us a little bit more about like sort of what unique use cases can be built on top of this privacy stack? Like I don't want to name names, but a lot of what we hear on crypto Twitter is it's private. We don't know what's going on. Like it's just false claims. It's like what actually can happen with this privacy stack on the OP chain? Like what are some use cases that are already happening? What are things that you envision can happen, that will happen in the future? Talk to us about those sort of use cases and ideations.
Sounds great. So we can't name yet, but we've been working on. So we already actually closed some of the deals, like use cases for this. These are going to be announced in the near future. The first use case is the crypto debit cards. So when you use the crypto like debit cards on top of the crypto, your spending gets fully exposed. Like if you spend $20 on Amazon with the crypto debit cards, everyone will know that oh my god, this guy like spends $20 in somewhere. I'm not sure if it's from Amazon. I don't know, like this guy bought something, but if you spend like $19.83, then it's really easy to track down what they built, right? So we need privacy in our daily lives. So surprise, surprise. So crypto, so like what we are enabling is crypto debit card, spending goes fully private so that the users can earn the DeFi yield and spend the cash like in the real world in the private way. That's why we are supporting. That's the first case. And the second use case is so there are a lot of approaches that um, of the RWA. So there's one approach. So there is one huge market named repo market, repurchase market in the like TradFi system. That's really huge market. Like I forgot the exact number, but like it's like hundreds of trillions of dollars. But problem of the repo market is it's like fully based on the credits. So there is no like enforceabilities, and sometimes the like sometimes sometimes the like credit breaks, and sometimes like there's a chain reactions of the disaster and those kind of stuffs. So there's one like startup I can't name yet. They are building an institutional repo market, on-chain repo market with the RWAs. But the problem, like they needed privacy and they needed privacy boost because they had to leverage the deep liquidities on top of the existing chains like the OP, like the OP stack, and Ethereum. So they needed to privacy solutions that can leverage existing deep liquidity. So we came to build together. So yeah, so those tools are the use cases that we are announcing pretty soon.
Awesome. Carl, anything to add on in terms of what you're excited on the privacy front for Optimism?
I mean, I'm just excited to hear about so many use cases, which you could say fall under payments or fall under lending, fall under credit. And yet there is so much depth to actually bringing that off-chain, pre-blockchain market fully on chain. And I just think that this is like yet another use case, another data point of us breaking through barriers. And to be clear, there's still a huge number of barriers to break through, but I think that, I don't know, a couple of years ago, the barrier was the willingness to come on chain in the first place. Now the barriers are much more mundane technical things and hurdles that we are overcoming. And that privacy boost, for example, is breaking through. So I don't know, it makes me very pumped to see that, because what that means is every single time we win one of those deals, boom, 0.1% of the global financial system is on chain, 0.2, 0.3, and we'll get there. We'll get there.
Awesome. Carl, Tam, thank you so much for the time. I know we're getting close to sort of what we had blocked off in terms of this episode. Carl, I do want to end this episode asking you about sort of what is other stuff on the Optimism roadmap for 2026. How are you thinking about, I think the way that crypto teams think about it, like I think it is consensus that the last bull run has ended and now we're sort of in a bear. What is the roadmap for 2026, and how is the Optimism team looking to position for the next bull run?
Build for the bear, baby. So what is 2026? I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it is modularity so that these chains can build differentiated block space that supports everything required for their real world use case to onboard, millions of users. And so we just talked about some really exciting privacy stuff. There are other things. One, sequencer policies, making it so that you can have a sequencer which remains compliant so that your chain can have the rules that you need for your assets to be brought on chain. We're also building out contract acceleration, basically in making it so that you can build your chain in such a way that it specializes for certain applications, making those faster and more efficient. And then we are obviously, without question, bringing down costs and bringing down latency. That is the perpetual thing every day. And we even have some fun little interop stuff coming down the line. So it should be a very exciting year. And Yeah, and honestly, exciting year for crypto broadly. Even though it sounds doom and despair, don't be doomy or despairy.
Yeah,
Be optimistic, I guess.
Be
100%.
optimistic.
Doomerism is not allowed. But yeah, I know so many of them have already kind of written it for ETH, but I think Ethereum future looks so bright, and so does everything that's building on top of it and supporting it as well. But yeah, thank you guys. This was awesome, and yeah, long live ETH.
Hey, and congratulations, Sunnyside on Privacy Boost. Huge moment. Let's go.
Let's go.